On Sunday morning, October 27th, 2024, my son called to tell me he was getting married the next day. I'm Helen Patterson, 61 years old, and I've been a widower for 3 years. When Gary said he'd withdrawn all my money and sold my house, I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I laughed out loud, a sound that echoed like a warning he couldn't hear. What my son didn't know was that the house he just sold for $285,000 wasn't the house I actually lived in. My name is Helen Marie Patterson, born March 15th, 1963 in Toledo, Ohio. For 30 years, I was a detective with Columbus Police Department. Then on August 22nd, 2021, my husband Tom died of cancer. He was 59. I was 58. Gary was 29 years old. People see a quiet security guard who works part-time at Riverside Shopping Center, checking doors and helping with parking lot issues. They see someone gentle, perhaps lost since her husband died. Certainly harmless. What they don't see is that I spent 3 decades investigating fraud, forgery, and financial crimes in Columbus. I know evidence. I understand legal procedures. I can spot a con from a mile away because I've arrested hundreds of them over the years. I took the security job after Tom passed, just to stay busy and supplement my police pension. But I never forgot what I learned on the force. I never lost the instinct to document everything, to keep detailed records, to understand that evidence is power. 3 months before that Sunday phone call, Gary started asking about my finances. July 25th, 2 days after my birthday. I've been thinking. You're living alone now, and I worry about you managing bills. What if you forgot to pay something? Let me help you set up automatic payments. I'm 61, Gary, not 91, I said. I know, but humor me. Dad would have wanted me to look after you. That line got me. So I gave Gary access to my checking account, the one with about $3,500 for monthly expenses. Not my pension savings account with $95,000. Just the checking. Thanks, Emma. This really helps me worry less. 6 weeks later, September 10th, Gary brought his girlfriend to dinner. Beverly Pierce, 29 years old, with sharp features and calculating eyes that reminded me of suspects I'd interrogated. We sat in my dining room at 856 Maple Drive. I grilled burgers on the back patio. Beverly barely touched her food, those green eyes scanning the room constantly. This is a beautiful home, Helen, she said, using my first name without permission. Houses like this must be worth what, 400,000? 450? I haven't had it appraised recently, I said, uncomfortable with the direction. Gary laughed. Beverly's interested in real estate, always looking at property values. Later, cleaning up in the kitchen, I heard Beverly on her phone in the living room. Old cop habits. I listened to everything. Yeah, she's got money. The house alone is worth at least 400,000. And Gary says she has pension savings. She's been alone for 3 years, so it's all just sitting there. When she dies, it all goes to Gary anyway. I froze, hands in soapy water, listening to her discuss my death and assets like I was already gone. Gary must have heard, too. Beverly, keep your voice down. Sorry, babe, she said, not sounding sorry at all. A warning bell went off in my head, sharper this time, like a blade being drawn slowly. But I dismissed it. Young people were more open about money. It didn't necessarily mean anything sinister. Or so I told myself. 2 weeks later, September 24th, Gary emailed me. Important documents, please sign. The email said he had routine insurance and medical forms attached. Could I print, sign, and send back? I opened the attachments. For PDFs, 12 pages each, dense with legal language. My detective training kicked in, screaming danger, but the font was small, deliberately confusing. Then I remembered. I'd been sick the week before. Chest pains. 3 days in Columbus General Hospital, September 16th through 18th. They thought it might be a heart attack, but turned out to be severe stress and exhaustion. I called Gary. Did you bring me papers to sign in the hospital? A pause. Just insurance forms and MOAM. You signed them on the 17th. I had a notary come. You don't remember? You were pretty out of it from the medication. After we hung up, I tried to remember September 17th. Vague impressions of voices, of holding a pen, of signing something. But the memories were foggy, unreliable, like shadows slipping away. I should have hired a lawyer right then. But he was my son. Surely I could trust him. That was my first real mistake, and it burned like acid. October 27th, 7:15 a.m. I sat at my kitchen table with coffee and laptop, checking my accounts. My Sunday morning routine while watching SportsCenter highlights. The page loaded. Checking account, $347. Pension savings account, $1,200. My pension savings had held $95,316 on October 20th. Transaction history showed October 24th, $42,000 to Gary E. Patterson. October 24th, $35,000 to Gary E. Patterson. October 25th, $17,116 to Gary E. Patterson. 3 transfers over 2 days, leaving just enough to keep the account open. My checking account, another $2,800 transferred to Gary on October 26th. I couldn't breathe. The room tilted. Then my phone rang. Gary's name on the screen. Hey, Mom. Great news. I'm getting married tomorrow. Beverly and I decided not to wait. Small ceremony at the Riverside Country Club. My throat tightened like a noose.
Gary.
My bank accounts.
Oh, that. Yeah.
I needed the money for the wedding and our new condo down payment. You'll be fine on pension and Social Security, right? You took $94,000. MOM. Technically, I had authorization. Those papers you signed, power of attorney. You gave me access. I was medicated and confused. That's not how the bank sees it. His voice hardened, a stranger's voice. I'm your son. Everything you have comes to me eventually anyway. I just needed it sooner. Beverly and I are building our future. What about the house? Oh, right. I sold it yesterday. 1247 Oak Street, $285,000. Great price. The buyers take possession in 30 days, so you need to be out by November 26th. Maybe look into assisted living. Gary. My voice cut through his rambling like a knife. I don't live at 1247 Oak Street. A pause that felt like forever. What? That's my rental property. The Martinez family lives there. They have 18 months left on their lease. Silence. Then, confused. Your rental property? The house I live in is 856 Maple Drive. It's in a family trust. More silence, thick with dread. When Gary spoke, his voice was uncertain, afraid. But you never told me. No, I never did. That's when I laughed. It started small but grew. A dark, uncontrollable sound from somewhere deep and cold. I laughed until tears rolled down my cheeks. Mom, what's so funny? I wiped my eyes. Gary, do you have any idea what you've just done? I sold your rental property. So what? You sold property you don't own, with tenants who have a valid lease, using fraudulent documents obtained by exploiting your sick mother. That's theft, fraud, and forgery. 3 felonies. Don't be dramatic. I'm your son. Have a nice wedding, Gary. Enjoy it. It's going to be the last happy day you have for a very long time. I hung up. Underneath the shock and pain, something dark and professional was rising like a storm. Gary thought I was helpless. He had no idea who he was dealing with. I went to my filing cabinet and pulled out the property folder. Inside were deeds to 2 houses, 856 Maple Drive in the Helen Patterson Family Trust and 1247 Oak Street in my name. Next, the lease agreement. Carlos and Maria Martinez moved in June 2022. Current lease June 1st, 2024 through May 31st, 2026. Rent, $1,800 monthly. Gary had sold a house with sitting tenants without disclosing the lease. When those buyers discovered the occupied property, they'd sue him for fraud. I opened my laptop and started a new document. Timeline of financial abuse and fraud, Gary Eugene Patterson. Then I began documenting everything, each entry like a nail in a coffin. By Monday morning, October 28th, I had a plan. 9 a.m. Called my credit union. I need to report fraud. Complete records of all transactions for 6 months. Ashley Porter, the representative, was sympathetic. I'm so sorry, Ms. Patterson. We'll investigate immediately. I need documentation of the power of attorney documents submitted to authorize these transfers. You'll have those within 3 business days. 10 a.m. Called Keith Reynolds, a retired from my old poker group. Keith, my son stole my pension savings and fraudulently sold my property. I need legal representation.
Pause.
How much are we talking? $94,000 in theft. $285,000 in fraudulent sale proceeds. Jesus, Helen. Yes, I'll help you. My office at 2 p.m. 11 a.m. Called Carlos Martinez at 1247 Oak Street. Carlos, I need to tell you something upsetting. My son sold your house without my permission using fraudulent documents. Silence. He what? I explained calmly. Carlos's voice was tight with anger. Some stranger thinks they bought our house. Your lease is valid and binding. You're protected. But I wanted you to know immediately. I may need you to provide statements. Whatever you need, Ms. Patterson. Absolutely whatever you need. 1 p.m. Called Nancy Williams, my late husband's best friend. Nancy, can you come over? I need to tell you something. On my way. At 2 p.m., I sat in Keith Reynolds' office on High Street. He listened to my story without interrupting. When I finished, he removed his glasses. Helen, your son has committed multiple felonies. Grand theft, fraud, forgery. This isn't civil. This is criminal. He could face 3 to 7 years. I know. Are you sure about this? He's your son. I met his eyes. He stole my life savings and tried to make me homeless. What kind of son does that? Keith pulled out a legal pad. First, file fraud reports. You've started. Second, contact the title company. Third, file a police report. You can request investigation before pressing charges. What about the buyers? They'll sue Gary for fraud. He'll be liable for the full purchase price plus damages.
Good.
Helen, what do you want? Punishment or restitution? I thought about Gary's casual voice, so certain I wouldn't fight back. I want justice. I want every penny back. And I want him to understand that betrayal has consequences. Then, let's build an ironclad case. We spent 2 hours preparing documents. By the time I left, I'd filed fraud claims with my credit union and the title company. The police report would be filed October 29th. My phone buzzed. Gary, MOM. Why is the bank calling about fraud? What's going on? Me. The bank flagged the withdrawals as suspicious. Standard procedure, Gary. But I'm your son. Tell them it's fine. Me. Is it fine, Gary? You took $94,000 without permission. I had your permission. I borrowed it. We'll pay you back. I stared at borrowed, as if you could borrow, without asking.
I didn't respond.
That evening, Nancy brought wine and tissues ready. I told her everything. Her expression shifted from shock to fury to something like determination. That absolute bastard, she said. Helen, I'm here for whatever you need. Can you help me organize my documentation? Bank statements, lease agreements, property deeds. I need everything categorized and copied.
Consider it done.
We sat drinking wine as October sun set outside. For the first time since that terrible call, I felt something other than betrayal. I felt purpose, and a cold, sharp hunger for justice. You know what the worst part is? I said quietly. Not the money, not the house. It's that he thought I was too stupid or weak to fight back. Nancy squeezed my hand. He's about to learn his mother is neither stupid nor weak. That night, Gary texted, "Emoam, please come to the wedding tomorrow. I want you there. Let's not fight over money." I stared at the message for a long time, then typed, "I'll be there." Let him think everything was fine. Let him marry his calculating bride and celebrate with my stolen money. Let him believe he'd gotten away with it. I would smile. I would take photos. I would play the proud mother. And then when he least expected it, I would show him exactly what happened when you betrayed Helen Patterson. October 28th, 2024. The wedding was exactly what I expected. Expensive, showy, and paid for entirely with my stolen pension money. Riverside Country Club glittered with white roses and crystal chandeliers. I arrived at 2 p.m., wearing my navy suit, carrying a small gift wrapped in silver paper. Inside was a framed photo of Gary as a kid with his father, one Tom had treasured. I'd written on the back, "May you always remember where you came from. Love, Emma." Beverly looked stunning in a designer gown that probably cost $8,000. My $8,000. Gary stood beside her in a tuxedo, beaming like he didn't have a care in the world. When he saw me, he rushed over. You came. I knew you'd understand. This is a fresh start for all of us." I pulled back, studying his face. Did he really believe that? "Congratulations, Gary. You look very happy." Beverly joined us, her smile sharp as broken glass. "Helen, so glad you're not being difficult." Gary was worried, but I told him, "You don't need that big house anymore anyway. We can build our future now." "How thoughtful," I replied, my tone pleasant but my eyes cold as ice. The ceremony was brief. I sat in the front row, watching my son promise to love and cherish this woman who'd helped him betray his own mother. Around me, 47 guests laughed and dabbed at tears. Beverly's parents, Carl and Helen Pierce, sat across the aisle. Helen kept glancing at me, her expression strangely guilty. During the reception, I made polite conversation with strangers, drank champagne I couldn't taste, and took photos I'd never want to see again. The room sparkled with 250 white roses at $35 per arrangement, $8,750. The champagne was Dom Perignon at $180 per bottle. 12 bottles visible, $2,160. The 4-tier cake with sugar flowers, $1,400. I knew these prices because I'd helped plan enough department retirement parties over the years. This wedding cost at least $65,000. My $65,000. Just as they cut the cake, my phone buzzed. A text from Keith Reynolds. Police investigation opened. Fraud charges being prepared. Title company confirms notary's seal fraudulent. Notary was in Florida on September 17th, not Ohio hospital. You have him. I looked at Gary laughing with his groomsmen, completely oblivious. Not yet, I thought. Let him enjoy this moment. It would be his last happy one for a very long time. November 2nd. Halloween had passed. How fitting. Gary and Beverly appeared at my door at 8:56, Maple Drive, unannounced. Gary looked furious. Beverly's expression was icy calculation. "What the hell did you do?" Gary demanded, pushing past me into my living room. "The title company froze the money from the house sale. They're saying the power of attorney was forged. They're threatening criminal charges." I closed the door calmly. "Perhaps because it was forged. You signed those papers." I was there. I signed blank papers while medicated and confused. "You took advantage of your sick mother." Beverly stepped forward. "This is ridiculous, Helen. You're old. You can't manage your finances anymore. We were helping you. By stealing $94,000? It's not stealing if you're too senile to manage it yourself." Her mask slipped, revealing cold opportunism beneath. Gary is your son. Everything you have should go to him eventually, anyway. We just needed it now. I kept my voice steady. So this was your plan? Find a woman with a wealthy parent, manipulate him into stealing from his mother, then build your life on her money. Gary's face flushed. Don't talk about Beverly like that. She loves me. She loves your inheritance, I corrected. Or what she thought was your inheritance. Beverly laughed, harsh and ugly. You think you're so smart? Drop these accusations, or we'll make your life hell. We'll tell everyone you have dementia. We'll have you declared incompetent. We'll put you in a nursing home. Is that a threat? It's a promise, Gary said, his voice low. Mom, I'm trying to be nice here. Just tell the bank and title company you made a mistake. Tell them you authorized everything. And if I don't, Gary stepped closer, looming over me. Then you'll find out how difficult your life can become. We have lawyers too. We'll tie you up in court for years. We'll drain whatever money you have left. For a moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Not fear of their threats, but genuine sadness for what my son had become. This angry, threatening man was a stranger. But I had not survived 30 years of police work by being intimidated. Get out of my house, I said, my voice like steel. Both of you.
Now.
Get out. You have 5 seconds. 1, 2. They left. Beverly spitting curses. Gary's face twisted with rage. As their car pulled away, I sat down heavily, hands steady but heartbreaking. The mask was off. Now I knew exactly who I was dealing with. I called Keith Reynolds. File the police report. Press full charges. I want them prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Are you sure?
Completely.
The next week moved quickly. Detective Larry Mitchell, 42, took my statement on November 4th. He was thorough, professional, and increasingly disturbed by what he heard. Ms. Patterson, I've seen a lot of elder financial abuse cases. This is one of the most calculated I've encountered. The credit union provided their findings on November 6. The power of attorney documents showed multiple irregularities. The notary seal belonged to Margaret Phillips, whose license expired August 15, 2024. Margaret Phillips was in Tampa, Florida on September 17. Her airline records proved it. My signature appeared shaky, inconsistent with my normal handwriting. The documents were dated September 17, but weren't filed with the bank until September 23. Victor Bradford, CEO of Pinnacle Title Company, called on November 7. Ms. Patterson, I owe you an apology. We failed to catch these irregularities. We've frozen all proceeds from the sale, $285,000. Gary won't see a penny. What about the buyers? The Johnson family? They're devastated. They're suing your son for fraud, breach of contract, and emotional distress. They put their entire life savings into that down payment. Guilt twisted in my stomach. Can you give me their contact information? I'd like to speak with them. I'll have my assistant send it over. That afternoon, I called Rosa Johnson. She answered, her voice cautious. Mrs. Johnson, this is Helen Patterson. I'm so deeply sorry. I had no idea my son would do this. Your family is innocent in all of this. Rosa's voice cracked. We have 2 children, Miss Patterson. We saved for 8 years to buy that house. We thought we finally had our dream home. I promise you, your lease will be honored. The Martinez family will move out when their lease ends in May 2026. After that, if you still want the house, I'll sell it to you at the price you paid, $285,000. Silence, then soft crying. Thank you. Thank you so much. November 10th, 2024. I was at the shopping center doing my evening security rounds when my phone chimed. An email from an unknown address. Truthteller 2024. Proton Mail. Calm. Subject line. You should know the truth about Gary. My hands trembled as I opened it. Miss Patterson, I'm writing anonymously because I'm afraid of retaliation, but you deserve to know. Gary has a 5-year-old daughter named Sophie Rose Patterson. The mother is Carol Bennett. They dated in college. Carol got pregnant their senior year. Gary told her to get an abortion. When she refused, he abandoned her. Carol sued for child support 2 years ago. The court ordered Gary to pay $1,200 per month plus $65,000 in back support. Beverly doesn't know about Sophie. Gary has been secretly taking money from you to pay Carol off and make her go away. Sophie deserves better. So do you. A concerned friend. I stood frozen in the mall parking lot, surrounded by the sounds of evening shoppers while my son's secret exploded in my hands. A granddaughter. I had a granddaughter. I searched Facebook on my phone with shaking fingers. Carol Bennett, Columbus, Ohio. Her profile was partially public. The most recent photo, posted 4 days ago. A little girl with dark curls and Gary's exact smile, wearing a pink dress, blowing out 5 candles on a birthday cake. The caption read, "Happy 5th birthday to my Sophie Rose. You're my whole world, even if your father refuses to acknowledge you exist." Nancy found me 30 minutes later, sitting in my security office, phone in my hand, tears streaming down my face. "Helen, what happened?" I showed her the email. The photos. "Oh my God," Nancy whispered. "You have a granddaughter." November 12th, I drove to Columbus with Nancy. Carol Bennett lived in a small apartment complex on Parsons Avenue, Unit 2C. I knocked at 2 p.m. as we'd arranged by phone. Carol opened the door. 30 years old, tired eyes, but kind face. "Miss Patterson, please come in." The apartment was tiny but spotlessly clean. Children's drawings covered the refrigerator. A small bookshelf held worn copies of Dr. Seuss and chapter books. "Thank you for agreeing to see me," I said. "I never wanted to destroy Gary," Carol said quietly. "I just wanted help raising Sophie. She asks about her father every single day." "Where is she now?" "Kindergarten. She'll be home at 3:30. At 3:45, we heard small footsteps on the stairs. The door burst open. "Mommy." Sophie Rose Patterson was beautiful. Dark curly hair like Carol's, but Gary's brown eyes, Gary's smile, Tom's nose. She wore a purple backpack covered in unicorn stickers. She stopped when she saw strangers in her living room. "Who are they?" Carol knelt down. "Sophie, this is Ms. Patterson. She's your grandmother. Your daddy's mother." Sophie's eyes went wide. "My daddy's mommy?" I couldn't speak. I just nodded. Sophie walked over cautiously. "Mommy says my daddy lives far away. Do you know where he is?" "Yes, sweetheart. I know where he is." Does he think about me sometimes?" My heart shattered. "I think he thinks about you all the time. He's made some mistakes. Grown-up mistakes." Sophie studied my face with those serious 5-year-old eyes. "Mommy says everyone makes mistakes. She says the important thing is saying sorry and trying to be better. Your mother is very wise." Sophie suddenly smiled. Gary's smile, and my heart broke all over again. "Do you want to see my drawings? I'm really good at cats." December 15th, 2024. Franklin County Courthouse. Judge Patricia Thornton presiding. The courtroom was packed. Gary sat with Jeremy Sullivan. Keith Reynolds sat beside me. In the back row, Carol Bennett held Sophie's hand. When it came time for victim impact statements, I stood. "Your Honor, Gary Patterson is my only child. He committed serious crimes against me. But he's also the father of my 5-year-old granddaughter, Sophie. I don't want vengeance. I want my son to become the man his father would have been proud of." Gary took the stand, tears streaming down his face. "I have a 5-year-old daughter named Sophie Rose. I abandoned them when Carol was pregnant. I stole from my mother to pay child support secretly. I'm a coward. I'm a thief. I don't deserve mercy." Judge Thornton studied Gary for a long moment. "Gary Eugene Patterson, you are hereby found guilty of grand theft, fraud, and forgery. I sentence you to 14 months in Franklin County Jail, followed by 4 years of supervised probation. You will make full restitution to your mother, $94,000 to be paid over 8 years at $980 per month. You will also establish legal custody with Carol Bennett and attend mandatory therapy. 6 months later, I stood in my garden at 856 Maple Drive, planting tomatoes. It was a Saturday morning, warm and bright. A car pulled up. Gary got out, followed by a small girl with dark curls who immediately ran toward me. Grandma Helen. Sophie threw herself into my arms. I held her tight, this miracle I'd almost never known. Gary walked over slowly. He looked different, thinner, older, but healthier somehow. Clear-eyed, sober in a way he'd never been before.
Hi, Emma. Gary. How are you?
127 days sober. 73 days out of jail. Starting my new job as an insurance adjuster on Monday. Carol and I have joint custody now. I see Sophie every weekend. He paused. I'm paying you back. The money's in your account.
I saw.
Thank you. MOM, I know I can never fully make this right, but I'm trying. Every single day, I'm trying to be the man Dad was proud of. I looked at my son, this flawed, broken man who is finally, slowly, becoming someone better. Your father would be proud that you're trying. That's what matters. Sophie tugged my hand. Grandma, can we plant flowers together? Of course, sweetie. We knelt in the dirt together, 3 generations, planting tomatoes while Nancy brought out iced tea and cookies. My name is Helen Marie Patterson. I'm 61 years old. I learned that love without boundaries isn't love, it's enabling. I learned that the greatest victory isn't revenge, it's rebuilding. And at 61 years old, I've got a granddaughter who calls me Grandma Helen and makes me pictures of our family. That's worth more than any pension account ever could be. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones who teach us our greatest lessons. That real strength isn't avoiding betrayal, but choosing how we respond to it with dignity and justice. At 61, I discovered that being a grandmother isn't just about spoiling a grandchild. It's about breaking the cycle of broken promises and showing the next generation what accountability and unconditional love actually look like.